We've got our first potential tropical development area in the eastern Pacific and the first tropical wave in the Atlantic. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather, and it's nice to see you on a Tuesday. I hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, we do have our first potential tropical development area. You see that in yellow in the eastern Pacific. We'll look at that. The first wave coming off the West African coastline in the Atlantic. I've got your island by island rainfall forecast, and we'll look ahead at what potentially could be happening tropically in our area as we get closer to the official start of hurricane season. As we get this video started, Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the lead law firm of Central Florida. They're your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They offer free consultation and policy review. So when a storm moves over your area, you get wind damage, hail damage, hurricane damage, they can walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. Go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. As always, I want to hear from my Meteo Mundo weather community. Let me know in the comment section below where you're viewing from. Are you baking hot? Or have you had some of that heavy rain and storms lately to cool things off? Maybe you've had too much rain, because we've also had that. But certainly temperatures is what you see right now in Fahrenheit. They're beginning to kind of crank up a notch, especially as we've dried out a bit on this Tuesday. A lot of 90s, even some triple digit Fahrenheit numbers out to our west. Now look, we're still going to be influenced by this trough, but it's just not going to be as prominent today. The lift in the atmosphere is not going to be as robust, so the chance for heavier rain and storms is going to be a little bit more limited, but that still doesn't mean we're not going to get pockets of heavier downpours. And let me show you an area where it's going gangbusters right now, right over the northwest and north central sides of Puerto Rico on this Tuesday afternoon. From the Aguadilla area on over towards Arecibo, these storms just got going here in the late afternoon hours, and look at all of the concentrated lightning right now over the Arecibo area. These are kind of developing and drifting off towards the east, so absolutely the opportunity that San Juan could get hit with some healthier thunderstorm activity as we roll through the late afternoon hours. As a matter of fact, they just issued a flash flood warning for the Arecibo area, and that is not shocking because that thunderstorm is producing high rainfall rates. We could have 2 to 3, 4 inches of rain falling in a very short amount of time there. And again, look at just how concentrated that heavy activity is. We could see some storms develop south towards Utialto and again push off towards the east, kind of more in a east to west elongated fashion. We've had a few storms today on the eastern side of the Dominican Republic and a few more over portions of the Virgin Islands, but right now really concentrated over Puerto Rico with a heck of a lot of lightning. That is a pretty healthy thunderstorm there on the northwest sides of the island. All right, back over to the visible satellite imagery. What do you say we bring this up and continue on to what's going to be happening here? Again, temperatures coming down, obviously, as the storms have developed. Aguadilla back down to 77 degrees. Back out to Hispaniola, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti. There will be a few storms today. They're just going to be a lot more isolated in nature. Thankfully, all the flood warnings for the Dominican Republic are no longer in effect. Again, it still doesn't mean we couldn't get pockets of heavy flooding potential rains, but it's just not going to be widespread. I think the best chance is in interior, higher elevations of the western sides of the Dominican Republic. Fairly dry over portions of Haiti, but an isolated thunderstorm or two. And again, northeast coastline from Puerto Plata, the Samana Peninsula, you can see a little lightning strike developing there inland towards Punta Cana. Back off towards the Virgin Islands, same situation, not as much concentration of rainfall today, but still not completely dry in most spots. Temperatures aren't horrible. Rotown, Tortola, 86, St. Thomas, same situation. Our friends in St. Croix coming in at 88 degrees. You know, from time to time, we'll get some gustier winds. This is what the winds look like right now. Ponce about a 20, 22 mile an hour wind, but nothing outrageous. We're going to see pockets of heavier rain across the Lesser Antilles. And again, the main story I want to pass along for today is that the rain is just not going to be as concentrated. If you notice on this visible satellite imagery, there's a little bit of haze in the sky. There's a bit of concentration of Saharan dust as well, which will only become more concentrated through the week and especially into early next week into the eastern and central Caribbean, and I'll have more on that coming up. You see temperatures falling as the showers have developed today. Places like Anguilla, Barbuda, Antigua have had a few showers crossing the area, Montserrat as well. Little bit more concentration of tropical moisture streaming in from the southwest, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique. Again, it's still spottier rain, but we've had some downpours across the islands. And if you live in those islands, you've had some of those heavier downpours, let me know in the comment section below. You can see the temperatures falling with the showers moving over the southern sides of Martinique. We're beginning to see some rain over St. Lucia. We've had a few passing showers over Barbados for today. Nothing extremely concentrated, but again, some of that rain from time to time can be moderate to heavy. And we've had scattered showers. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, back towards Grenada. Earlier in the day, Trinidad and Tobago as well. It's dried out a little bit there. But when I bring back on the infrared satellite imagery, we'll still be watching for thicker concentrations of tropical moisture south and east of the Windward Islands to try and make a run up into, especially TNT, during the overnight and morning hours. We could get some scattered showers there. Rain trying to develop near Nueva Esparta. My friends in the AB Salents, I told you yesterday, I think this is your best chance for rain over the last few days and over the next few days as well. So I hope Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao is beginning to get some showers. Certainly some cloud coverage streaming in from the south. My friends in the AB Salents, if you look south, you're going to see those thunderstorms developing off the mainland and trying to make a run towards your southern coastline. By the way, we've had some gusty conditions as well. Aruba earlier today had a 36-mile-an-hour wind. Once again, another very wet day for Panama and Costa Rica. You get north of there, it's drier. We still have a lot of dry air in place. All of this red on the water vapor imagery shows you how kind of widespread this drier column of air is right now. There's not a lot of tropical moisture at the mid levels of the atmosphere, and there's nothing to lift that tropical moisture. Now, unfortunately, we all know that the tropical moisture right at the surface is still relatively high in concentration. And you know what that means? It's darn hot outside. Temperatures are really spiking right now. Look at San Pedro Sula at 100 for today. Even the Bay Islands, Roatan hit 90. Inland Belize, San Ignacio above 100 Fahrenheit, 102. Belize City in at 93. Look how hot it is in Merida and Campeche, 104 and 106 respectively. These areas all have heat advisories for good reasons. My friends in Quintana Roo and the northern sides of Central America, please be very cautious being outside in the heat of the day. We're going to get a few thunderstorms developing in Jamaica, already seeing a little bit of that in the western side of the island here, especially on over towards Westmoreland and Hanover parishes, towards the coastline, Montego Bay, Lucy, Negril, Savlamar, the best chance for a shower or rumble of thunder on this Tuesday. Still could see some rain in the hill country of the interior sections, the western side of the island, the western parishes. I'm not going to rule out a passing shower over Kingston, but look, generally speaking, the farther east that you go across the island on this Tuesday, the drier you're going to be. By the way, the dew point in Kingston is up to 77 with a temperature of 88. That means your feels like temperature is right around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It's pretty darn steamy outside. My friends in Jamaica, I know it hasn't been great. A lot of you have been talking about how hot it's been. Unfortunately, if you're not going to catch the showers, that heat is only going to be building. Same situation across Cuba. It's been a much more lovely day, if you will, and a quieter weather across the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, Nassau, New Providence, Freeport, Lucaya, Grand Bahama, upper 80s for daytime highs. Thunderstorms, by the way, trying to reverse near the Bermuda area right now. Let me zoom out and show you that. They've had some showers. Their temperature is only 75 degrees. How about that? Let's get into the forecast, friends. As we do so, thank you for taking a quick second, hitting the like button for me. I appreciate that. Thanks for joining our Meteo Mundo weather community by hitting that subscribe button right now. Thank you for sharing this channel with your family and friends. I do appreciate all those ways to help support us. I mentioned that Saharan dust layer. Watch how concentrated it gets. You're going to see those purples coming in this weekend and through early next week, especially through the Lesser and Greater Antilles, but could even reach portions of Jamaica and Cuba. And again, relatively thick here. I'll take myself off camera so you can see it, especially in the Lesser Antilles, down towards the Windward Islands, so Barbados, TNT, Grenada. Again, we already have some concentration of that Saharan dust, but it will only get thicker as we get towards next weekend and early next week. So get prepared for that. It is that time of the year. You know what else this time of the year it is? Tropical development time. And we have our first banana out there, our first lemon, whatever you want to call it, out in the Eastern Pacific. We've been talking about this potential area. This could be Alvin in the next 5 to 7 days. Now, at this point in time, it only has a 20% chance of development, but more than likely, conditions appear to be relatively favorable here as it traverses west-northwest for potential development south of the Acapulco area. I'll show you the GFS model and we'll look at that more coming up. But again, that's the Eastern Pacific. Now, that being said, it's still going to influence portions of Central America and the Yucatan as far as rain chances. For some areas, it's going to improve the rain chance. For other areas, it's going to keep things dry, and we'll look at that coming up as well. So we follow this tropical moisture, right, all the way back into the eastern sides of the Atlantic, where we have our first tropical wave here coming off the West African coast. Relatively organized. Now look, that being said, tropical waves in May never traverse the Atlantic basin and never make a run into our area. But just to show you that we do have our first one, and there's some pretty good, blow up of thunderstorms within this area right now as well. So good concentration there. The Sahara dust will play a factor in things as well, but a big break in the action until you get much closer to the South American coastline, where locally we're lifting up some tropical moisture to provide the showers and storms that we talked about for the eastern sides of our area. Nice little mid-level system coming south of Bermuda, which will help to enhance some of the rainfall into our northern and eastern areas as well. All right, let's get into the forecast, friends. I'm going to break down, first of all, I'm just going to go ahead and take this all the way out to the end of the month, and then we'll kind of look at the next few days and go island by island for the rainfall forecast. Let's first start with what could be happening here with potentially Alvin. You can see on the GFS model, there is a nice wrap up here, and you do get a tropical system out of the GFS in about a 7-day time frame, kind of moving back up the Pacific coastline of Mexico and potentially moving back inland into Mexico as well as we head towards the beginning of June. And you can see that, right? So again, that's why we have this development area, because we would get on the GFS model around the 27th to 28th, some kind of tropical system that potentially by just towards the end of the month would be working its way back inland. So there's the first real sign. Now, for our areas in Central America, here's how this could play out. This moisture will be more concentrated over the next couple of days and lift farther to the north. So in the short term, it could drive some rain back into Nicaragua, portions of Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, Guatemala, interior sections, certainly back into portions of Mexico as well. But ultimately, as this begins to wrap up, it is going to pull back in drier air again. So although there might be an uptick in rain chances, say starting in about 3 days for the areas that I just mentioned, ultimately because we're going to be on the northeast side of this spin, that's a little too far, but you get the idea, the northeast side of the spin, that's the drier air. All the wet is on the south side of this and the southwest side, all right? So unfortunately for places like Belize City and Cancun and Cozumel and some areas like Honduras that could use some more rain to cool things off, there's not a lot more. Potentially a short-term burst of rain, but ultimately speaking, a lot of that gets dragged west as the system pulls away. Now, still a lot of rain for Panama and Costa Rica as well. Down the road, I mentioned that the Southwest Caribbean is something I'm still monitoring right towards the end of the month, because as we are seeing this wave of energy developing potentially with Alvin, the first named storm of the Eastern Pacific season, we have a little bit more energy coming back into the southwest side of the Caribbean here, again, right towards the end of the month. So I'll be monitoring that area. Now, when I drop this back down just into the shorter term here, again, it's going to take a while before all of that to develop. So when we look at kind of what's going to be happening over the next 3 days, and only the next 3 days, we're still void of any of that making a farther north jaunt in latitude, right? So it stays down in Costa Rica and Panama. So that means places like Jamaica and the Cayman Islands continue to see relatively dry conditions. Spotty rain over Jamaica, the Cayman Islands would take that at this point in time. Any shower that we could get over Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, and Cayman Brac would be much appreciated. Cuba, the Bahamas should stay dry until late Wednesday and Thursday in the Northwest Bahamas. We talked about in yesterday's video, again, a cold front coming out of the United States Southeast could push a few showers into the forecast late on Thursday into the Northwest Bahamas. So places like Grand Bahama, Walker's Key, the Abacos, Bimini, and eventually early on Friday back down into the Andros, Nassau, New Providence area, Eleuthera, all with rain chances beginning to come. Now, it's not going to be fantastically high, only concentrated in the northwest side of the Bahamas, but at least there'll be a few showers there. Southeast Bahamas, Acklands to the Turks and Caicos, not a lot of rain on the board over the next few days. It's a very paltry chance. We'll be drying out a bit over Hispaniola as well. Now, again, we will get kind of daily showers developing, isolated storms and pockets of heavier rain, but certainly not as concentrated as we've had been. And that's good news because, again, we need to dry out, especially on the DR side. Still going to see some wet weather over Puerto Rico. I don't, again, expect the heavier rain to be so widespread that we're going to be talking about, a lot of flash flood issues island-wide over the next few days. But you already saw what was happening in the Arecibo area today with that flash flood warning. So pockets of 2 to 3 inches on a daily basis in some spots. Absolutely still plausible over the next couple of days. I would put portions of the Virgin Islands in that as well, but overall, again, the rain chance will probably be slightly lower there. Now, we're still going to have pretty good rain chances overall in the Lesser Antilles, but again, with the tropical moisture not being as concentrated, we don't have to worry as much about seeing daily heavy rainfall. This is more fast-moving showers locally each and every afternoon. Some areas will stay completely dry. Other areas will have a couple of rounds of showers. So, look, Antigua tomorrow could easily get 2 quick passing showers, and Barbuda could be completely dry, and then you could flip that on Thursday, right? But there's enough moisture here where the rain chance overall from Anguilla South, St. Martin, St. Eustatius, Montserrat, Guadalupe, Dominica is pretty darn high. It's slightly lower Martinique, again, for the next couple days, but relatively speaking, St. Lucia has a decent chance. Barbados will get back into the act as well. St. Vincent, portions of the Grenadines, and then down towards Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, just a little bit higher moisture content here should provide better rain chances, and especially in Trinidad, still the opportunity for some heavier flooding rains. There's no flood warnings or alerts at this point in time, but over the next couple of days, there still could be some choice areas that pick up enough rain, especially in some areas where we collect the water in low-lying areas. It's still a bit of, top of mind to keep an eye on here for those areas. Nueva Esparta will see scattered showers. As I mentioned in the ABC Islands, if we're going to get the best chance for rain, it's today. A few scattered showers possible tomorrow, but ultimately we begin to dry out. We'll be watching a few showers and storms coming off of the United States East Coast. These are fast-moving showers with cooler air back into Bermuda. Again, they're just in the 70s for highs for today, and from time to time, they'll pick up a northerly wind and stay much cooler than what we would expect to see for this time of the year. Here's your island-by-island rainfall forecast. 10% tomorrow in the northwest Bahamas, 30 late Thursday, but an even better opportunity early on Friday. That's the best chance for rain, Nassau up to Grand Bahama. Again, we'll build a little bit better chance for rains for central and southeast Bahamas on Friday, but not a ton, and staying very isolated and mainly dry over Turks and Caicos. Should see a slight little push to get a little bit better rain chance in Cuba over the next couple of days, with the Cayman Islands, Belize City, and Cancun and Cozumel crossing their fingers for a little bit more rain, slightly higher rain chances beginning in Belize City on Friday. And hopefully, if this Pacific system starts to try and develop, and again, doesn't affect any, areas on mainland here in any direct fashion, if nothing else, it gives us some moisture. We'll take that. We don't want anyone to get harmed out of the system, but we'll take a little bit more rain to cool things off. Jamaica's rain chances are quite low the next few days. The Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, 40 to a 50% chance. But again, over the weekend and early this week, we had a 60 to 80% chance in these areas. Bermuda's rain chance actually improves through Friday. Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, pretty solid rain chances. Again, 40, 50, 60% chance in the Leeward Islands the next few days, including Antigua and Montserrat. You get down towards Guadalupe, would expect the rain chance to fall a little bit Thursday and Friday, including Dominica and Martinique. Then we'll stay at that 40 to 50% chance over St. Lucia. St. Vincent and the Grenadines should once again see their rain chance begin to improve. Barbados is not a top-end chance by any stretch of the imagination, but some fast-moving showers and locally heavy rainfall are possible in the afternoon hours over the next 3 days. Grenada's rain chances are decent. Trinidad and Tobago's rain chances are even higher. Suriname and Guyana is even higher than that. Nueva Esparta with scattered showers expected each afternoon, and limited rain chances, but not completely dry. Cross your fingers in the ABC Islands, areas that desperately need it. Again, the winds will be picking up. We already saw that 36-mile-an-hour wind gust in Aruba for today. Fresh easterlies continuing for the south central sides of the Caribbean could be pushing into the coastline of Jamaica. Be monitoring that situation. Fresh easterlies along the windward side of the Lesser Antilles. Not bad boating conditions for the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, portions of the Gulf of Mexico there. Things look relatively quiet. I'll stay on this side of the map because this is our drier air again. You can see that overall the concentration of rain over the next several days has come down a bit, right? We're not seeing here in the Lesser and Greater Antilles those bright reds that we had. So we're not really expecting widespread 4+ inches of rain or 100 millimeters. But as you saw from Puerto Rico for today, it's still a possibility, just in a much more localized fashion. This is where we still have it, friends, along this monsoon trough and that potential developing low-level center of circulation in the eastern Pacific. So again, Panama, Costa Rica, a lot of wet weather, which will ultimately try and drag north into Nicaragua and portions of Honduras in the coming days as well. That's what it looks like on the GFS model. So again, just to kind of give you an idea from the GFS model, if I zoom in here, you can see that we are getting more moisture beginning to get back into the southwest side of the Caribbean. Now, of course, this is all falling offshore, but the point that I want to make is that eventually the models try and take some of all the stuff that's been happening on the Pacific side and lift it farther north in latitude. So does that come with some spin as well to kind of wrap up some of that low-level moisture that'll be a little bit more concentrated and into play by the next weekend ahead? But you can see, again, we're starting to get better rain chances now. Does this hit our area, or is it going to stay towards, the western sides of Guatemala and El Salvador, more on the Pacific side? But there's the opportunity to try and get some showers here. The farther north that you go, the drier it's going to be. Not expecting a lot there for the Yucatan Peninsula itself. Again, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, relatively dry. Spotty or heavy rain from time to time here and there over the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Again, the model is underdoing what's already been happening in Arecibo, but you get the idea from the GFS that pockets of heavier rain, but not as widespread, are possible over the next few days. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for following us across all social media. We have an Instagram page. You can find us on TikTok, X, Facebook. We are everywhere. As always, you want to send me a picture or video to help tell the weather story in your area. It is myMediaMundo@gmail.com. You have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. Please remember that Media Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys, offering free consultation and policy reviews. They'll walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. So when a storm rolls through your area, go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. Friends, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for liking and subscribing to the channel. You have a great rest of your day. I'm back tomorrow with your latest forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas right here at Media Mundo.